Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas! Anthony here, and this is the Hollywood Burn, where I watch the garbage that Hollywood is churning out so that you don't have to. And today, we're going over Dear Christmas, a movie from Lifetime or the Hallmark Channel. Those are basically the same thing, aren't they? And if you like those type of movies, well, you might like Dear Christmas. But if you're looking for a Christmas movie that's good, maybe not. Actually, this one isn't too bad. It's just that Hallmark/Lifetime Christmas movies, they do have their own particular feel, that sort of sappiness that's aimed towards grown women in particular, and if you don't like that sappiness, you're probably not going to like this movie. You're probably into other Christmas movies that you watch around this time of the year. Movies that aren't that sappy. We all watch Christmas movies around this time of year, don't we? Even Jews and Muslims. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe Jews who aren't allowed to celebrate Christmas are mad because they get balloons every 8 days or whatever it is. I don't know what your customs are, despite the fact that I look Jewish. Also, movies like this tend to have a pacing that's a bit slow or just off in some way, and that kind of kills my enjoyment of them a little bit. So that's the quick synopsis of it, but for this review I'm going to be recapping the whole movie, adding little jokes in, hopefully entertaining you. But just to warn you, for the rest of the video, there are spoilers. So Dear Christmas stars Melissa Joan Hart down here, still looking good, even though it's been a lot of years since her days on Clarissa Explained It All. And in this movie, Melissa Joan Hart plays Natalie, a podcaster, who I know is a podcaster because the movie opens up with her in a booth talking to her audience. But then, after that, she starts wrapping gifts with her boss, and that's where she gives this whole exposition dump. Natalie is your typical character that's selling a product that she does not believe in, and that product, typically, is love. Very common for this type of movie and many other movies. And her podcast, it's all about love. She's always talking about it. She hasn't exactly given up on it herself, but she just doesn't believe in true love. She states that outright. But then Natalie's driving home to Lake Tahoe for Christmas, and she gets a flat tire, which she can't do shit about, because although women can change flat tires, women in Hallmark Christmas movies can't do that. It's basically against the law. If they did that, they would destroy not only Christmas, but true love for all eternity. Meet-cutes would become the thing of legend, and all the single ladies would become hysterical cat ladies once they reached the age of 40. But fear not, because Handsome Hunk is here to save the day, played by Jason Priestley, whose character... It's weird because I watched this movie a couple of years back, and the description on the service that I was watching it, they got his name wrong. I think they called him Joe or something in the description. And the weird thing about that is, his name is very hard to fuck up because they literally named the character Christmassy. How you could not remember that and your job is to write the descriptions for these things, I don't know. But you fucked up whoever it was. So he changes the tire, sparks fly between them, and then he says, I'll see you tomorrow. And she says, you sound pretty sure of that. And he goes, pretty sure. And this line gets repeated quite consistently over the movie. So if you're not too into hearing it, too bad. Once she gets a new tire that is not as flat as Callista Flockhart, she goes home and visits her family. And her family consists of the dad, played by Ed Begley Jr., who... Quite honestly, I'm quite fascinated by Ed Begley Jr. as an actor because he has this very strange quality to him where he can play an old conservative dad around Christmas, and he can also play like a very loose, hippie, liberal on the complete opposite side of the spectrum type older guy, and both seem absolutely appropriate. Like, I can't describe how he is. Just that quality to him. She's also got this kind of owly looking mother who's always kind of trying to cheer her on, and she's got this younger sister who is pregnant, and they gave her the fakest fucking looking pregnant stomach I've ever seen. It looks like they were looking for something that they can shove there, and all they could find is an old dodgeball, and somebody on the crew was just like, yeah, you gotta give that back to me after we're done, I'm giving it to my son for Christmas. Don't worry about her brother-in-law, he comes into the picture later, but her parents, they used to be, I think, bankers. It doesn't really matter because it didn't play into the thing at all. Now they own a bookstore, and Natalie, the podcaster, she has written a book, so they want her to do a book signing there. They had Jimmy Fallon do a book signing there recently they mention for no reason in the movie. I don't know why this movie and satellite radio want me to associate Jimmy Fallon with Christmas so bad, but it's not going to happen. Meanwhile, Natalie's doing a little bit of work at home, away from her podcast in whatever city she's from. She's gathering testimonials from couples on how they met and why they believe in true love. The sisters go and hang out in their childhood room, where Natalie says something about precious memories, which I don't think was a nod to Melissa Joan Hart's cameo / small role in the movie Can't Hardly Wait, but it reminded me of that, and I very much appreciated it. In that room, we're made aware that Natalie has a habit, or tradition, whatever you want to call it, of making a notebook, like a little marble sort of notebook like this, where she keeps track of the school year. And it's used as a regular journal sometimes, but other times what she does is she takes a full page of that journal, she'll write the name of a boy in her class that she had a crush on, taking up the whole page, probably put his name in a little heart, although quite often she'll end up not liking him anymore and crossing his name off. She likes quite a bit of boys. The next morning, Natalie is woken up by none other than Chris Massey, who is hanging up the Christmas lights on her parents' house. That's one of his jobs in addition to towing the trucks. He has quite a bit of jobs around town. But apparently, his line about being pretty sure that he was going to see Natalie has come true. Since she's crushing on him, she of course offers to help him string up the lights. That delights him. She sort of recognized him when he was changing her tire. He looked a little bit familiar to her, but she couldn't quite place him. He, on the other hand, knew who exactly she was. He reminds her that she was in his band class in 8th grade. They were banging oboes together, or whatever the kids do. It's during this sequence where they do a thing that makes me not really love this movie, where they do this trope of humor that isn't actually funny, like, he's talking to her, and he's just like, we don't have a connection, and they want you to think that they're talking about their relationship, but he's talking about the extension cord for the lights. Haha, so fucking funny, especially when they play that, like, boom, 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 type music. Like, I don't know if that's exactly it, but that sort of music that's supposed to make you not take this seriously. And you're not supposed to, but it's not funny. Let's make that pretty clear. I mean, you might not think I'm funny talking to you, but I'd like to think I'm funnier than this movie. So after that lame scene, Chris says his line about being pretty sure that they'll see each other tomorrow, and they go their separate ways. Natalie goes to her parents' bookstore for a book signing. I don't know why their parents would open up a bookstore in the year 2019 when nobody reads anymore, but take a risk, I guess. I mean, this movie was released in 2020 when a big global thing was happening that would have decimated all bookstores, but we'll give this movie the benefit of the doubt and say 2019, just to be a little nice. For a book signing, there isn't an awful lot of signing books. They just call it a book signing, the movie, and they just have her go to the bookstore and then later somewhere else to drop off a signed copy of her book. And wouldn't you know it, Chris Massey is at that place. They were both supposed to just be popping into that place, but apparently they're digging on each other so much that they blow off the actual important things that they have to do and sit down and talk with each other about all sorts of things, about their past, about past vacations that they've had, which apparently they were on the same vacations, just missing each other at the exact same time, which I guess now the universe is making up for it, that they're just now actually meeting at the exact same time, instead of just missing each other. Wow, isn't that romantic? So they keep having these chance meetups where they do things together, like chop down a Christmas tree. There's also these glass hearts, ornaments that Natalie keeps seeing all over town. Turns out Chris Massey makes the Christmas hearts. I know, shocking. But there is this cool sequence where they show them making the glass heart together, and like they're actually making it. I don't know if the actors are actually making it, but like you can see the actual glass smelting or blowing. I don't know the technical term for it. You see that process, and it's kind of cool. Eventually, Chris Massey puts his foot down and says, "I'm tired of meeting you in a ridiculous way. by chance. It's time we schedule an actual meetup together. Please come with me to the fireman's ball, which, if he wasn't enough of a hunk stereotype already, he's a firefighter. Voluntarily, so he doesn't get paid. So that makes him even more selfless and altruistic, and more of a hunk. She, of course, accepts his invitation, but that means she needs a dress to wear to the ball. And her sister suggests, hey, remember that bridesmaid's dress that you wore at my wedding? Which, isn't this movie aimed at women? Because what I know about women isn't really anything, but what I do know is that they've never ever liked the bridesmaid's dress that they were forced to wear. Why would she want to wear a bridesmaid's dress to look good for this guy? Something doesn't add up. Natalie gets all done up to go to the ball, but then, out of the blue, her sister goes into labor. And she's like, oh, no, please, go to the ball. It's more important. Oh, the kid's foot's coming out. But please, go to the ball. Like, really? You're becoming an aunt. Going to the ball to meet this guy is more important than seeing your sister's child be born, than helping her through the birthing process. That's the more important thing. I mean, I know these movies are ridiculous about love, but even the female audience would agree. Most of them would rather be with their sister, seeing the baby born. Natalie makes a personal compromise and waits for her sister's husband to get home, and then she races off on a car that does not have a flat tire thanks to the hunk that she's meeting. She goes to meet him, and by the time she gets there, nobody's at the dance hall. The ball is over, except the hero, Chris Massey, walks in, and he's still there. He waited for all this time because he loves her that much, even though they just met like 2 days ago. And they danced together by themselves in the dark ballroom. Very romantic. All that gets quickly undone, however, because remember how Natalie was gathering testimonial videos from couples who listened to her podcast? Well, it turns out that her boss, who produces that very podcast, sent in a testimonial video where she recently has gotten together with a guy who's worked at her company for years, and they're just now getting together. So her view is that love, it's not quick, it takes time. And apparently that's enough to scare the crap out of Natalie away from Mr. Hunky Hunkman, who she's been quickly getting together with for the past 2 days or whatever the fuck it is. The next day there's a scene back at the house, which Natalie's sister, back from the hospital already. Is that a great idea? You don't want to make sure everything's okay with mom and baby? I hope that baby has a great immune system. And I'm not saying Natalie hates the baby, but I am saying she's not particularly jumping at the chance to hold the baby, which I feel like most women would be doing that. But you know who is holding the baby? Chris Massey. He stops by. He holds the baby. And for some reason, this doesn't get Natalie's ovaries into waterfall mode like it normally would. Instead, she's sticking to what her boss said, that love takes time, and she's resisting in a way that she wasn't before, because this movie isn't written very well. She's like, oh my god, this is all happening so fast, and it's like, what? What is happening so fast? You guys have only hung out. You've only hung out and talked. He hasn't even asked you out on a date officially, except for that one fireman's ball. You guys haven't kissed yet. What is happening so fast that you're so afraid of? Yes, there's a lot of distance between where you normally live and where he lives, so that's a valid criticism, but the happening fast thing? No, it's not. But then after this conversation, Chris goes back to his truck where he has a box with an engagement ring in it. So now her thing about this all happening too fast is valid. Fuck you, dude. Remember those diaries that Natalie used to keep, though? Well, she goes back to her one for 8th grade, the year that she knew Chris Massey, and she flips through it, and wouldn't you know, there it is. His name is written down, and it's not even crossed out or anything, so she must have loved him this whole time. She didn't remember him at all, but she loved him this whole time. And that's just indicative of this movie. It wants it both ways. It wants to say, oh look, it's been love at first sight, because I saw you change my tire, and I fell in love with you. But also, I've loved you forever. Love takes time, just like my wise, magical Negro boss said. Natalie realizes what a horrible mistake she's made. She's loved Chris this whole time, so she goes on her podcast, and in front of the entire world confesses her love for Chris Massey. She even uses his name, which is kind of weird and stalkerish and could put him in some sort of jeopardy, I feel. But it works. He loves her too. He goes and he proposes, And I guess that means that when it comes to loving her, he's more than pretty sure. So that was Dear Christmas. Hopefully you like my review of it. This is the Hollywood Burn, where I roast movies. If there is a Christmas movie that you want me to roast, maybe I can get to it in time for the holidays. Really any movie if you want to make a suggestion. Nobody watches this channel, so I can probably get to your suggestion pretty quickly. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please leave a like. Please leave a comment down below that's respectful towards me and your other commenters. And if you want to see more, subscribe to the channel. Anyway, Merry Christmas, or whatever it is you celebrate, and take care.